If you want people to take you seriously, stop being so polite. Now, I know that sounds wrong, but there's a communication habit most people use every day that quietly makes them sound less confident, and they don't even realize they're doing it. Think about how this shows up in real conversations. It's usually not obvious, but once you hear it, you'll start catching it everywhere. It sounds like this. Maybe we could try? I'm not sure, but... Sorry, quick thought? On the surface, that sounds respectful, but underneath, it signals hesitation. And here's the problem. People don't respond to what you intend. They respond to what you signal. You're trying to be respectful, but it comes across very differently than you expect. I see this all the time with my students. They'll have a strong idea, but the way they present it makes them sound unsure. So instead of saying, this is the plan of action I want to go with, it turns into, I don't know, maybe I could kind of try? Now, it sounds like a suggestion, not something they actually stand behind. And this doesn't just happen in classrooms. You see it in everyday interactions. Someone has something useful to say, but they soften it so much that it loses its impact before it's even heard. So why does something meant to come across as respectful end up weakening your message? When you speak, people aren't just processing your words. They're reading your level of certainty. And your wording gives that away very quickly. When you hedge, when you soften, when you leave things open-ended, you're signaling that you're not fully committed to what you're saying. If someone says, maybe we could kind of try this, or I'm not sure, you hear hesitation immediately, even if the idea is solid, even if it's the best option available. Now, compare that to, let's try this. And this happens faster than you think. People aren't analyzing your wording word for word, step by step. They're picking up on patterns, tone, structure, word choice. And those patterns shape how much confidence they place in what you're saying. Over time, this creates a consistent impression of you. If someone regularly sounds unsure, people begin to treat them that way. They get interrupted more often. Their ideas get passed over. Their input carries less influence. Not because they don't have good ideas, but because their delivery doesn't support them. So this isn't about removing politeness. It's about recognizing the moment when politeness turns into hesitation. You start to see this show up in very specific situations. For example, when you're adding to a conversation, you say, I'm not sure if this makes sense, but before you even finish the sentence, you've already lowered the importance of what you're about to say. Now, compare that to, here's what I'm seeing. Same idea, but now it's clear and grounded. It gives your idea a chance to be taken seriously. When setting boundaries, this shows up immediately. I'll try to make it. I'll see what I can do. You already know you're not going, but you don't want to say it directly, so you leave the door open. Compare that to, I'm not available for that. No over-explaining, no false hopes, no confusion. You see the same thing when people ask for something. Instead of saying, I was wondering if it might be possible to... By the time they get to the point, the request has already lost its strength. Compare that to, can you send that over by tomorrow? Same message, different level of confidence. If you consistently sound unsure, people start adjusting to that. They hesitate to follow your lead. They wait for someone else to step in. They second guess what you're saying. Not because they're dismissing you, but because your delivery doesn't communicate confidence. This isn't about being aggressive. You're not raising your voice. You're not forcing your opinion. You're removing the extra language that weakens your message. You're not changing your ideas. You're making them easier to trust. And once you start noticing this, you'll realize there's one habit that shows up more than anything else. People apologizing when nothing actually happened. You hear this constantly. Sorry to bother you. Sorry, quick question. Sorry, just wanted to add something. It's automatic. What are you apologizing for? Because every time you say that, you lower your position before you even speak. You're signaling this might not be important, or I don't want to take up space. And people feel that. Now, take the same situations without the apology. Instead of sorry to bother you, say, quick question. Instead of sorry, I just wanted to add something, say, let me add something here. Instead of Sorry for the interruption. Say one quick point. Same message, different signal. You're no longer asking for permission to speak. You're participating. You don't need to apologize for speaking, contributing, or having a thought. That's not politeness. That's hesitation disguised as politeness. Now, if you made a mistake, apologize. If you hurt someone, apologize. But don't apologize for existing in a conversation. When you start to see this clearly, something important shifts. People aren't reacting to your words the way you think they are. They're reacting to how certain you sound when you say them. Every time you speak, you're doing two things. You're sharing an idea and showing how confident you are in that idea. And those don't always match. You can have a strong idea, but if it's delivered with hesitation, it sounds uncertain. And once that signal is there, it's hard to recover from it. People naturally lean toward what sounds clear and grounded. So if your wording consistently signals hesitation, even in small ways, it shapes how people respond to you over time. And this is where a lot of people get stuck. They think they need better ideas, more preparation, but often that's not the issue. The issue is that their message is being weakened before it's even said. And once you see that, the focus changes. You don't need to say more. You need to see it more clearly. At this point, there's usually a concern. If I stop softening what I say, won't I start sounding rude? That's what most people worry about. Because they've seen what happens when someone goes too far the other way. They become blunt, short, dismissive. That's not what we're aiming for. There's a difference between direct and being careless. Being direct means your message is clear. Being careless means you ignore how it's perceived. You can be clear without being harsh. You can be direct without being disrespectful. The goal isn't to remove politeness. It's to remove what weakens your message. The extra words, the hedging, the unnecessary apologies. What you keep is respect. What you remove is hesitation. That's the balance. So instead of thinking in extremes, either polite or direct, think in terms of clarity. When your message matches your intention, people don't experience you as rude. They experience you as confident. So how do you actually start doing this? A simple way to approach this is to adjust how you structure what you say. Not a complete overhaul, just a small shift. Think of it in 3 steps. First, say what you mean. Start with the actual point you want to make, not the lead-in, not the qualifier, the point. Instead of building up to it, start with it. Second, remove what doesn't add value. A lot of what weakens your message isn't what you're saying. It's everything around it. The maybe, the just, the I'm not sure. If the idea is worth saying, it doesn't need those. Third, keep the tone, not the hesitation. You don't have to sound cold to be clear. You can still be respectful, but your message should stand on its own. So instead of saying, I'm really sorry, but I was kind of thinking we might want to try this, say, I think we should try this. Same idea, less friction, more clarity. And once you start doing this, you don't need to add anything extra. You just stop subtracting from your own message. Now, there's one more communication habit that can quietly weaken your message. Even if everything else sounds right, it's the habit of overexplaining. A lot of people think explaining more makes them sound clearer, but it often does the opposite. It can actually make you sound less confident. I break that down in this next video right here. I'll see you there.